How long have you been married?
About a year this October.
Oh, so not quite a year yet.
Yeah.
All right, is the honeymoon over?
Not quite, but yeah.
Amber, is the honeymoon over?
That's debatable.
Ooh, okay. Go ahead then.
Perfect example of how unorganized she is. Ask her where her purse is right now.
All right.
She doesn't have her purse. She doesn't know where it's at, what happened to it, or in fact, I have the stuff that should be in her purse in my pockets.
Do you think you're unorganized?
No, I don't.
All right, so you think your husband's making all of this up?
I think he has a different definition of organization than I do.
All right. Now, you're a young couple. You're 25.
Yes.
And you're 18. So you've been married about 8 months.
Yeah.
You have a business.
Yes.
What kind of business is it?
We have 3 businesses. I started off the businesses. Me and my mom has the antique business, and I did the scrapping. And when we got married, she brought up the point that I already have the trucks, and it would be no big deal to start a hauling business. So we started doing it, and we called it FAR.
That was smart.
We called it FAR Hauling, which is our initials, Forrest and Amber Russell, and it just happened to spell for. So.
All right. So not only are you married, but you're business partners.
Yes.
I heard you say you and your mother were in the antique business together.
Correct.
So you're a big guy, but would you call yourself a mama's boy?
Oh yeah, I know I am.
Oh, okay. All right. I figured that.
Yeah. She basically, other than before my wife came along, she was my best friend basically.
So when you went out to look for a wife, were you looking for a wife that was like your mom?
Yeah.
Figured that.
I got most of it.
You did. The part that you didn't get is why we were in court today?
Yes.
I figured that. Boy, you're making this too easy for me.
That's fine.
All right. Do you all live at home with your
Yes.
parents?
On the property.
Okay, so in other words, there's family property, 2 houses on the same property?
Yeah, we have enough acreage.
Oh, you live in one and they live in the other house?
Yeah.
But they're next door?
Basically, yeah.
Okay, so her mother-in-law lives next door?
Yeah, that's just in the last month. We had our own house, but our lease was up on it.
All right, so you both have similar backgrounds when it comes to having the same family structure in terms of growing up?
No. His parents are still together. My parents got divorced when I was 9, and I've never really had a relationship with either of them. I have a relationship with my mom now. My dad passed away about a month ago, so we never really did build a relationship on there. We always moved a lot. I've lived in at least 38 of the continental states. You know,
Really?
I've moved a lot, so I'm used to...
Were they military people?
No, we just, I don't know.
Why would you at 9 not live with your parents?
I lived with my grandparents because my mom had some problems that she couldn't have kids around to deal with.
I see.
So I lived
Was
with my
she
grandparents.
into substance or mental
Yeah.
illness? It was substance abuse?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And my younger brother and sister stayed with my mom's grandparents because my dad's grandparents, where I was living, they already had 8 kids living there, and they could only fit 1.
Yeah.
So I stayed with them. My older siblings stayed with my aunt and uncle. And I stayed with my grandparents in Georgia for a long time. And then when my mom got kind of better, you know, we all moved back in with her, but I couldn't deal with the background. You know what I
Sure.
mean? So I moved in with my sister to get away from that, and then I ended up moving to Chicago when my sister joined the military to stay with a friend of mine, and then I came out here to California.
You knew about all of her life?
Yes.
Okay. So you do agree or do you understand that a lot of times, yes, we all make decisions now, but a lot of the ways we make decisions is based on where we've come from?
No, I don't believe that's always accurate.
You don't believe that so? Well, I believe we're the total sum of all of our experiences. And I believe when you're an adult, you make certain decisions. And I absolutely believe, and you don't have to agree,
That's fine.
that some of those decisions are based on how you lived your life. In other words, you may raise your children based on how you were raised. Not all the time, but I think it absolutely is some factor. Maybe it's not an overwhelming factor, but I think it may be. How did you guys meet?
A friend of mine, she was the babysitter. Kind of went from that to, I'm hungry, let's go get some Jack in the Box, to let's go catch a show, to what it is now. Once we started dating, and
You went from the jack-a-box to 8 months later, we in court.
Interestingly enough, the husband did not agree with the judge that the way we make our decisions and the way we live our lives is based on our previous experiences and whatever our parents taught us. Of course, there are different factors that influence our decision making. Maybe later in life, when we start living our own lives as adults, we tend to implement the experiences that we get as adults, and not necessarily the ones that we got in our childhood, but still, the reminiscence of that life is still lingers somewhere in our decision making. But would you guys agree with that? Would you agree with the husband? Please put it in the comments below, and let's go back.
Was it love at first sight or what?
I feel so.
More so love at third.
Love at third sight? Why is that, baby?
The first time I met him, I thought he was kind of weird.
Okay, so when did the juices start to flow? I mean, when did the Cupid and the love, I mean, when
About
did it
February
happen?
last year.
Yeah, I know last year, but at what point?
I asked her if, she knew, if she was religious at all, and she said kind of, sort of. And well, come check out my church, and then we were able to give us the opportunity to be able to safe, free zone, that we were able to talk more and not feel threatened and so on and so forth.
I see. So when did the juices start to flow?
I couldn't give you the exact date and time and minute and second.
I can.
I don't know.
I'm a minister.
I'm sure she could.
So let me tell you this. I'm a minister, so I know a lot of times people meet at church, and that's a nice thing. When did the juices start to flow, honey? When you looked in his eyes and you said, was the choir singing or was the preacher preaching?
I don't know if we should talk about flowing juices on family court, but
Okay. Well, I didn't mean it that way. No.
Amber,
Oh,
no.
is that what you all are thinking? No, I'm a good judge. I didn't mean that juice. I meant when did the love. Let me say it. That's what you thought I meant? Oh, y'all. That's why I'm having a pull teeth. I don't want to know about your business like that.
Like, what do you need to know that for?
Yeah. I meant when did you realize that you loved each other?
February 22nd of last year.
Okay, I gotta watch how I say things. I didn't mean it like that.
I took her up a ginormous mountain, kind of cornered her and conned her into kissing me, and
And you wanted
she
to.
didn't stop, and that was cool.
Okay.
She kissed me back, and that was rather nice.
That's what I'm talking about. See, that's the part I was trying to see. Now, I'm going to give you my philosophy of things before we start working through the problem. First thing is, when you find a mate, there's always going to be things about your mate that annoys you. I agree. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Are there things about him that annoy you? Because he's already said.
I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah. We can all agree to that. What you try to do is the 70-30 rule.
Oh, yeah, we did the 80-20. Yeah.
80-20?
I was looking for a miss 80%.
80% of
80%
what you
of
like.
what I can handle, and the other 20%
20% you have to let go.
Yeah.
The problem in marriages and why we end up in divorce is we tend to focus on the 20% of what's wrong. And you stay there too long instead of making your mind immediately go to the 80%. But I think now for you to be in court, the 20% has really taken over.
A bit.
I think so. Because it's annoying you so much that you felt like you could come to court about it. How involved, because you live next to your parents, how involved is your mother or your parents in your current relationship?
Well, my father has really no opinion on the matter.
What about your mom? I know she has an opinion. I can feel it.
Ooh, and now it's becoming more and more interesting. I knew there is mother-in-law involved in all this court case. It has to be, absolutely. He did say he's a mama's boy, so she had something to do with this, 100%. At the same time, what do you guys think about that 70-30 rule? Do you implement it in your marriage? Do you tend to concentrate on what's good about your marriage and don't pay attention to things that need fixing? Or maybe like this guy, you tend to concentrate on the things that are wrong and maybe try and fix them so your marriage is perfect? Please put it in the comments below, and let's go back.
How involved is your mother in your current relationship?
Basically, the common thing that she says the most is, I understand that she's 18 and all, but it's time to woman up. It's time to, you're a grown woman, you're married, and you need to start acting like it. But she never says that to her, and I end up having to relay the message, and that's not always swell.
And then you end up getting you're in the middle.
It's like, y'all talk to each other, don't talk to me about it.
Yeah, I can see what was going on. Yeah.
She feels that my mother doesn't like her, and she's never going to be good enough, and which isn't the case at all.
You don't think so?
She just, my mom actually likes her.
Okay, well, let's talk to Amber and see. Amber, why did you get married to Forrest?
Because I love him. That's the bottom line. You know, we haven't been married long enough to be here.
That's
you
okay,
know.
though. Do you resent being here?
Yeah.
I could tell. I know.
Um,
Are you sad about it?
yeah.
I know. But you're in a good place. Because maybe coming, we can try to work on some things.
I hope so.
Oh, yeah, sweetheart, we can. If you love him and he loves you, do you think that your mother-in-law is interfering in your relationship?
I feel that way a lot of the time because she always. Sorry.
That's all right.
Thank
No.
you. I feel like she should be woman enough to come to me and tell me what's wrong. You know, I can't fix it if I don't know about it. And I'm not one for messengers. You know, I need to hear it or, you know, come to me and tell me if there's something wrong. I can't fix it if I don't know. I always feel like I'm interfering. You know, like I'm still considered a guest in the house. And I feel like I've been there long enough to be considered family and I'm not.
I know, honey. Especially when you've been all over the place looking for a family. And you would end up right back where you started. That's why Judge had to start with where you came from so I could see what's happening with you. And I can see it and I can feel it because it's not a good feeling. But if you're hurting like this is something your husband needs to see. Because see, all her life, all she's ever wanted was a family.
Right.
And you're that for her.
I know that.
So imagine living someplace, feeling like you're an outsider. And you're the man of the house and she's looking to you. So a lot of what you think is disorganization is maybe acting out or crying out for a place of her own. And why would you keep up something and be organized if you don't even feel like it's yours? You see?
This is so sad. So she did not have a steady home growing up. She didn't stay with either of her parents. She was raised by her grandparents. And then she had to move, she said so many times, meaning 37 states, I think she mentioned. She wasn't able to make friends or long life friends. And she's only 18. She just graduated high school. She's still a child inside. I'm pretty sure while marrying to this gentleman, she thought that finally she gets a steady home with her in-laws as her mother and father figures in her life. And now she realizes that that fairy tale is not happening because her mother-in-law, I don't know, maybe she doesn't have the wisdom to realize what this young lady has been through, but do you think she was right to send messages through her son? Please put it in the comments below and let's go back into the courtroom.
This is something I feel that I need to say is because I said it to her like days before the wedding. I made sure it was very clear. Basically, before I got married, I told her, I will never be able to buy you that house that you want, or that car you want, or that wardrobe you want, or whatever it is that you want. I won't be able to get it for you, but I might be able to get you something close. And she was okay with that, so. If I could afford to go get an apartment or go get a house, I would. But the bottom line is I can't.
It's so wonderful for a man to say, I can't give you all of those things, but this is what I can do, but I can love you. And you're giving her more than any mansions or anything if you give her love. But what you have to do, and it puts you in a bad position, is for a very long time, it's been you and your mother. Once you marry your wife,
It's forever.
you leave all others behind, and then it becomes your wife. And so what I'm thinking may have to happen is you may have to put some ground rules down and say to your mother in a very respectful way, Mother, I love you so much, but this is my wife. And I'm not carrying any messages anymore for you to her, because to do so is very hurtful to my wife. You came in here to ask me to help her get some counseling with organization. I know you're a macho guy, but do you think you would be open to going to some counseling for the two of you?
Well, I definitely think we could use it. Or I feel that we're both having issues with adjustment.
You both love each other, but you're both crying about this because you need some answers. Do you think counseling would help you all?
I think it really would.
Okay. I thank you for your honesty, but rather than sending her to an organizational counselor, I think both of you all need to go. And I admire you so much because I know how macho you are and how much she says you don't like communicating. And so for you to come from no communication to being macho to crying and telling me you'll go to counseling, you're probably one of the reasons why I wear this robe now. You know?
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do, as opposed to sending your wife to organizational counseling, why don't I send you all to some marriage counseling? Court stands adjourned. You're headed to marriage counseling.
I don't know about you guys, but I felt so much love between these two. They're so deeply and truly in love with each other, and they want to do everything it takes to make their marriage work. And to me, from my personal experience, this is the best attitude you can have if you want to save your marriage. And I don't know if mother-in-law was truly the factor in the conflict that brought them to the court, or there was some other underlying issues. I didn't really see any organizational skills that are lacking from her, or any examples of it being admitted as evidence to the court. But what did you guys think about this case? Please put it in the comments below, and thank you for watching.